Hello and welcome to Money Markets and More with me, Dominic Frisby, at sunset here on the beach in Brighton. And there is the sun making me go into the shadows there. We're talking seed oils today, dreaded seed oils. They are to food what fiat is to money. That is my grand theory. Before we get started on that, let me just plug a couple of things. I'm doing 2 shows in London next week. October the 10th at the Museum of Comedy, I'm doing my lecture from the Edinburgh Fringe, my brilliant lecture all about mining, and it's super interesting even though I say so myself. And then October the 17th, I'm doing a new material night at the Tea House Theatre in Vauxhall. I'll put a link to both in the description. Please come along. So, seed oils. RFK, Robert F. Kennedy, has been grabbing the headlines, not just for his alliance with Donald Trump, but for his criticisms of the American food industry, which he holds responsible for the epidemic of obesity and bad health. And I can't believe what he has to say is even considered controversial when it is so obviously true. Yet Time, The Guardian, The New York Times, all the usual suspects have come out to smear him. Surely it is clear processed food is bad for your health. Processed food causes obesity. Processed food is the cause of many modern illnesses. Don't eat processed food. It's bad for you. I'm not a doctor. Then again, I'm not an economist either. I'm just a guy who gets interested in stuff, especially systems, how they work, what their effects are. In the noughties, I became very interested in our systems of money, largely because I couldn't understand why houses cost so much relative to what people earn. And before long, I felt I had a good grasp of how money works. I ended up writing a film that became an internet sensation and got horribly plagiarised in the process. 4 Horsemen, wrote several books, umpteen articles, all making the case that if the West is to save itself and create a level playing field, we need sound money. Whether that's based on gold or Bitcoin doesn't really matter. Money needs to be independent of government rather than a tool of government. And recently, I've become very, very interested in health, in particular, improving mine. And for years, I've been unable to understand why I and millions like me could never keep the weight off. And I've become convinced that seed oils are the reason. They are to health what fiat money is to the economy. It is that fundamental in my mind. And thanks to Bitcoin and gold, the fiat money narrative genie's out of the bottle. Fiat's not going to die tomorrow. It'll probably take decades. But more and more people are realising how bad it is and are taking steps to escape the system via alternative money. And the same thing needs to happen with seed oils. And I find myself becoming as passionate about this as I was about money 15 years ago. Why are so many people obese? Why are so many people who work on their health, their diet, their fitness, still 10 or 20 pounds heavier than they would like to be? Why were so many people skinny in the 60s and 70s, but not now? Are people greedier now than they were then? No, they can't be. We're all the same human beings. If anything, we exercise more. What's changed is processed food. It barely used to exist. Now it is almost impossible to avoid. And the main enabler of processed food, the thing that gives it such a long shelf life, is seed oil. So, what are seed oils? Seed oil is a catch-all term for the various vegetable oils that have replaced animal fats to become a mainstay of the Western diet. So that would be sunflower oil, rapeseed oil, canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, palm oil, margarine, and so on. Anything hydrogenated, hard word to say, hydrogenated, is bad. And seed oils were mostly invented for industrial purposes as a lubricant, but because of their price and their properties, entrepreneurial companies, assisted by regulators, quack research and lots of PR, gradually added them to their food products, so that seed oils have now mostly replaced animal fats. And if you just look at how they're made, you gather seeds from plants such as soy, corn, cotton, safflower, rapeseed, and you heat the seeds to extremely high temperatures, so the fatty acids oxidize. You process the seeds with petroleum-based solvents, such as hexane, to extract the maximum amount of oil. You add chemicals to remove the foul smell, and this deodorization process produces harmful fatty acids, and then you add more chemicals to change the colour and appearance of the oil. It is not healthy. And one of their properties is that they don't break down easily. They can thus help lengthen food shelf life. But the problem, it seems, is that the human body cannot properly break them down either. Okinawa in Japan became famous for its longevity, many people living into their 90s and 100s. Then along came Western processed food, and suddenly there is an increase in obesity, diabetes and other modern illnesses. The once famously long-lived population is now seeing both a decline in life expectancy and an increase in health problems that were previously unknown. So this chart shows the consumption of vegetable oil in the US since the late 19th century. We didn't used to eat seed oils, we ate animal fats. You can see the change in diet. And the source of that is Dr. Chris Knobbe, and I'll link to his lecture at the end. Now, sugar often gets the blame for the rise in obesity, but if you look at current US sugar consumption, it is not that different from what it was in the 1930s or 40s. Obesity has grown, sugar consumption has remained broadly flat. Now we look at vegetable oil consumption and obesity rates. They correlate. And in this case, correlation is causation. So here we have a timeline for the introduction of processed food into the US diet. And there is a correlation not just between seed oil consumption and obesity, but also between seed oil consumption and chronic disease. Seed oil consumption has been linked to obesity, type 2 diabetes, it barely existed in 1900, coronary heart disease, it's the biggest killer, 1 in 3 in the US, barely existed before 1930, strokes, cancers, also 1 in 3, barely existed until the 20th century, Alzheimer's, autoimmune disease, bone, joints and cartilage, macro degeneration, that's your vision. Now, there are plenty of wiser, better informed folk than me who argue that seed oils are not the damaging force I make them out to be. Not least Dr. Lane Norton, who was interviewed by Andrew Huberman. It almost doesn't matter if I am wrong. Something in processed food is doing it, and by avoiding seed oils, you avoid processed food. The diet you need to eat, which you might call the ancestral diet, should not contain any seed oil. The things you want to be eating, meat, fish, cheese, milk, fruit, vegetables, should all be as unprocessed and close to their natural state as possible. Stuff we have always eaten. Olive oil is okay. Doesn't matter if you're carnivore or vegan, do not eat processed food. And when you're buying food, you have to assume as a starting point that it contains seed oil. It is in everything. Bread, cereal, biscuits, cake, pre-prepared microwavable food. You will always find it buried in there somewhere. This is a narrative that is gaining traction, especially in the US. When I go into restaurants now and I ask if the dish contains seed oils, I don't always meet with a baffled expression. The question has been asked before. Many restaurants, Sweet Green, have gone, for example in the US, have gone seed oil free. Now, this changing narrative has investment implications as well. At the moment, the major listed seed oil producers, they're Procter & Gamble, Archer's Daniels and Bunge, that's in the US. Now, I don't think we should necessarily short these companies, even though I expect there may at some point eventually be legal suits. But even when tobacco was attacked in the West, tobacco stocks weren't necessarily shorts because they had the developing world to expand into. The same will happen with seed oil companies. If they lose market share in the US and Europe, they still have the rest of the world to sell to. I'd love to short Walkers, that's WCW on the London Stock Exchange, if only because of Gary Lineker. But the anti-seed oil narrative is not yet powerful in the UK. Moreover, Walkers could quite easily bring out, tallow fried crisps, for example, which could change the story. In fact, if I saw a brand making tallow fried crisps, that is crisps fried in beef dripping, as they used to be, instead of sunflower oil, I'd buy them in a flash. Love crisps. Chips. Fish and chips used to be cooked in lard or tallow. Some hipster needs to get onto this. It'd be a huge hit. Probably a great investment too. And the same goes for, anything fried in tallow. There's already a crisp company doing it. And there are companies doing similar things in the States. But anyway, I think I've rambled on for long enough. Avoid seed oils. Avoid them. And if you're interested in exploring seed oils further, I'd recommend, there's a talk by Dr. Chris Knobbe. I'll put a link. It's called Are Vegetable Oils the Primary Driver of Obesity, Diabetes and Chronic Disease? I'll put a link to that in the comments. And I'd also recommend following Seed Oil Disrespecter on Twitter. Reminder about my shows coming up, October the 10th at the Museum of Comedy, and my brilliant lecture at Mount Mining, and then October the 17th, my new material night in Vauxhall. Until next time, goodbye. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Cheerio. Goodbye.